Hello, empowered empaths, and welcome to the Power of Healing Your Energy show. I'm Christine Gold, and I'm a spiritual medium, intuitive energy coach, and old soul healer. This is a live show and podcast all about unconditional love, your light, your intuition, and your soul's purpose. This is season 2, episode 36, and this week we're bringing in Sonia Frontera. She is an empowerment trainer, a lawyer with heart, and an author of many books, including the one we're going to talk about today, Relationship Solutions: How to Heal Your Heart. Depression and anxiety are a side effect of not living your life intuitively, not trusting your gut, the lost connections with yourself and others. And I truly believe healing is the end of conflict within yourself, and that healing begins where the ego ends. This is season 2, and you can find us live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 4 Mountain, 6 Eastern. A new guest and topic every week. Your soul's purpose is here. Replays can be found on my Facebook and YouTube pages. Please like, please subscribe, please share, please follow, and please rate and review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Yes, we're here. We're back. And let me know about the weekend. I mean, we spent all weekend talking about Christ consciousness. And if you're going, what? What are you talking about? I missed what? Don't worry. The replays can be found on YouTube and the 24 Karat Healing page. We had so many amazing healers, coaches, light workers, guides, all talking about, their path, their spiritual journey. We talked about, building your altar, to water and heart purification, working with trees, working with nature, talking about our awakening, which is pretty much the whole premise of this show. Do it a little differently. It's really just the practical aspects, but also just bringing in the beauty of, who we are at a soul level, remembering who we are. All right. So thank you so much. Come on in. Let us know where you're from. And I'm going to bring in our guest, Sonia. She was actually part of the Christ Consciousness Summit, and she's back again. Wow. Need to duplicate her. I'm going to bring her in now. Hi, Sonia.
Hello, Christine. It's good to be back.
Yes. It wasn't that long ago. And if anybody's, new and maybe didn't check out the summit, would you just let us know where you're from and maybe just a little bit about, how you got into writing books? And I mean, that's probably a whole story in itself, right?
Sure. I'm a practicing attorney, but what I really love to do most is to empower others. And I do workshops and retreats, and I author books and content that helps people heal their hearts and turn their adversity into fuel for personal transformation.
Love that. Love that. And we are going to be talking about one of your books. I mean, you have 2, and I just have to show this, you guys. I mean, when I saw the cover, I laughed so hard. Do you keep your husband, or do you post him on Craigslist? If that doesn't, inspire for someone to pick this up and go, what is this about? So what inspired you, I guess, to write? Is this your first book or your second?
No, Solve the Divorce Dilemma is the first book. And
okay.
Yes, and I was inspired to write it. I went to a retreat for women, and the theme of the retreat was forgiveness. And I noticed that many women were reeling from past divorces, some of which had taken place many years before, and some were hurting in their current marriages. And I thought, what an opportunity for me to share my experience and my personal journey and what I have learned along the way, and combine it with also my personal experience, my professional experience. I am also a divorce lawyer.
With heart.
Yeah, people think divorce attorneys don't have a heart, but yes, we do.
And I'm so glad that you're changing the narrative, especially what you see on TV, unfortunately, and how lawyers are, I'm like painted, I guess, with the same paintbrush, right? So it's very refreshing to see that you're looking at the both sides, like you're bringing everyone together for the collective, like for the we, not the me and the you.
Yes, and you'd be surprised. And something that I learned as I transition from my work in government to becoming a collaborative divorce lawyer is that many of the attorneys that I started working with are really wonderful human beings. And they hate the toxicity of divorce just as much as the parties, as the couples. And I think we need to start shifting that consciousness from having adversarial proceedings, having adversarial divorces, to divorces where people come together and focus on creation, what they're going to do once they dissolve their marriages is, and create a life that is joyful, that protects their children. And when there are win-win situations, which are possible if you are intentional about it.
Yeah, it's really, yeah, the intention, which happens to be my word for 2021. So, it really is, it's about a feeling and not about who's going to win at whose cost. I mean, I think what really ends up happening is, especially when you have children involved, is the children. That's what really matters more than anything. So I'm just going to say hello to a few folks here. Patty is here with us. And yes, she is saying happy Wednesday. And thank you for joining, Patty. We so appreciate your support. And our lovely friend from South Africa, Karath, is joining us. Thank you so much for being here. Please share, you guys. And, maybe you have a friend. Even if you're listening, if it's on the replay, maybe you know someone, maybe you are that person that's going through a divorce or thinking about it, or just a breakup in general, or maybe you haven't healed from that, as Sonia had mentioned. Yeah, so we're going to talk more about the book, Relationship Solutions. And you know what? I'm not even halfway through the book, but I really, your titles are fun. Like, how did you get yourself in this mess, and how do you get yourself out? So is that through, because you really talk about what your parents have modeled to you, I guess is what I'm getting at. So was that something self-realized, or is that something you've seen in your clients?
It's something I have seen on other people, but the bottom line is that the way we interact in our relationships, the expectations we create about the relationships and why we enter in relationships have so much to do with the societal messages that we absorb, what we see our parents, their interactions, what we see on TV. And that is the framework we use to build our relationships, when in fact, a successful, healthy relationship is something that comes from within. And I just wanted to underscore that, so people develop that awareness and question themselves. Why am I in this mess? How did I end up in a relationship that is unhappy? And how can I change that narrative so that I can create a relationship that feels authentic, that is in alignment with my personal values and what I want to achieve as part of a couple?
Mm-hmm. So what would you say to someone that is thinking about leaving?
Think about it carefully. Surprisingly, about 50% of people who divorce regret having made the decision and wish they had worked harder at saving their marriages. So unless you are in a dangerous, abusive situation, give your marriage a shot, and don't get divorced in haste. This is a decision that is so important and so key to your life that you should never make it in haste, or when you are feeling negative emotions because they never lead you down the right path. So think it through and weigh all the good and the bad in the relationship, and then you can come from a place of clarity and make that decision whether or not this relationship can be saved or whether it's better to move on amicably.
Mm-hmm. And I think, the key, the abusive relationships, and, you talk about red flags too. I think this is really important because I've been hearing, since 2020, since the pandemic hit, that domestic violence has increased. I don't know the percentages, but it's a real issue. And it's not just physical abuse, it's mental and emotional. And those are the two that people can't see.
That's right.
But you can feel.
It's very destructive. And what happens now during the pandemic, one thing that people don't realize is that isolation is the power tool of the abuser. And when you don't have access to support systems, to the activities and things that nourished you and kept you sane, you are forced to remain locked down with somebody who's abusive, has more power, more control over you. And then you find in situations that escalate and get worse over time.
Absolutely.
And you know what, we could never be able to quantify abuse, because I think that for every instance of abuse that it comes to light, there's many others that go unreported or underreported. So we never really know how many people. The estimates are 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men.
Yeah, and that's important to have men step forward, because I'm seeing that more and more show up, that men are stepping forward where they would feel a lot of shame, where they wouldn't think they were man enough. I should be able to, that control, that matriarch type of relationship. So thank you for addressing that as well. So I just wanted to address that part. And if anybody is struggling, I even will put this out there, please reach out to me, because I have been in an abusive relationship, physically and emotionally, like the whole gamut. So I know how hard it is to get out of that cycle.
Yes.
Because it is a cycle.
It is.
Yeah, it is. And they really like to push make you feel like you're the one that's crazy. Just remember, if you ever hear that, oh, you're acting crazy, that's a huge red flag for someone to say, because 1, they're dismissing you. 2, this will probably happen again. 3, there might be other issues with this person. So I would say run. That's all I would say. So, and really it's all about safety. And why do you think we dismiss red flags?
I think we like to see our partners in the best light. We are in love with this person and we want to see the best in this person. And we sometimes downplay, ignore, or reinterpret what is really going on because we want to stay together with this person and we don't see it. And other people are not necessarily going to point it out. And if they do, we may not pay attention. We may not believe it. So that's why awareness is so important in all relationships, but in abusive relationships in particular, you really want to pay attention to what this person is doing, and most importantly, how it makes you feel. Because when somebody makes you feel bad about yourself, that is a real red flag.
Absolutely. I always say make you feel yucky. Like if you eat something and it doesn't feel good, pay attention. The same thing when, someone says something or you're around them and something just doesn't, that's your intuition. And I think it's happening more and more because we're waking up.
Thank God.
Yes, thank God it's right. Absolutely. And yes, Patty, she's just saying that I do know parts of her story, and I just really am sending a lot of love and peace and blessings to you, that, the best outcome for you. Karath is just saying we're the sponge of the stereotype dream relationship. Yeah. With broken verses, extended promises.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is an illusion. It is a dream. It is, a fairy tale. I think of, Cinderella, which I seem to talk about quite a bit lately, but it's that fairy tale. And then I'm not saying don't, enjoy the fairy tale, but don't think that the white knight is going to come and save you.
Yes, we romanticize relationships, and we need to be mindful that relationships are not just about the romantic moments. It's holistic. It's about sharing your life with the good and the bad and the ugly. And when you just focus on the expectation that things are going to be perfect and rosy, it leads to disappointment and the inability to create from a place of reality.
Yeah, that's very important. I think I feel, because I have worked with a few of my clients that actually sabotage themselves that way through high expectations.
Right, the expectations of sometimes we have the expectations this is how our parents lived or this is what we see on TV. And it doesn't bear any resemblance, especially when it is something that has to come from within. What is it that you bring to a relationship? What is it that you want to create with a partner? And that is the genuine, authentic starting point for a healthy relationship.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you talk about transcend, like closer to the end of the book, you talk about transcending your fears and writing a new story. How would someone go about that? What would be the starting point?
The starting point is right here and right now. There's no better place to start than where you are, and no better time than right now in this moment. We tend to allow fears to paralyze us, and sometimes these fears are rational, sometimes they're irrational. But the bottom line is that our fears have something to teach us. So what we need to do is start paying attention to what our fears are and confronting them head on, and keep on thinking of the worst case scenario, because very often we think that we have a small fight or our relationship's going to end and we're going to end up under a bridge eating cat food and no one's going to love us ever again. And these scenarios are very harmful. We need to step back and confront our fears and then change the narrative, because when you think about it, these fears tend to be narratives. These are stories we tell ourselves of what's wrong, what's going to happen, what won't happen, what is the outcome if we were to end a relationship or we can't repair it. So what we need to do is take control of the narrative and change it to something that excites us, and the starting point is always creation. We need to create our destiny, and we have the control to do that on our terms. So you need to get your mind around that concept that you can create your happiness and start taking baby steps, because it can be really daunting and it's frightening to end a relationship or try to change something that's not working. But getting clarity as to what you want to create and then starting to take baby steps in that direction is really the way to go, because once you build on this baby step, then it's the next one, it's the next one, until you feel more comfortable. You have the confidence to create that happiness that you want and that you deserve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great baby steps, and it's a step, and it's a leap of faith too, knowing that you've got this. And I really, want to talk about. You can write down the pros and cons if you'd like, but the ego tends to lay heavy more on the con. You just make it more negative, I guess would be the word. But really, how do you feel with this person versus how you would feel on your own?
Exactly.
And that's discernment. So really, what's the worst thing that could happen? And, I'd like to think of my father as well. He is going through a terrible divorce right now. And I hear people, when they get into their 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s, they don't want to have a divorce or break it off because they're comfortable. They don't want to be alone, and they're going to take all their money. I think are the big three.
Yeah, but you know what? The funny thing is that the divorce rate is growing faster in the senior groups. The gray divorces are on the rise, and the fear is there of what will happen in the future and having to split assets, and the familiarity of that marriage you've had for so many years. But the reality is that and now people are thinking more about, I have so many years to live and I want to live them with quality. And you need to do what's right for you and not let age be the sole factor to keep you in a relationship that is unsatisfying. And to people who are old, I just have to say, I ran into an old neighbor this weekend, and she just told me, well, I have a new man in my life. She's 78.
Good for her.
So love can happen at any age. And you need to be open and receptive and not get locked into a relationship that is miserable just because you are older.
Mm-hmm. Or settling, I guess, would be another one, because you don't want to be alone, but you're hoping that they might change, and you're hoping that they might give you what you're desiring. In one, maybe you have not told them what it is, and you're
Mhm.
expecting them to just get a brain download and go, wow, that's exactly what she wants or he wants. It doesn't work that way. Two, you go and ask your partner, saying, I'd really love if you would do this. Can we? And if, well, I guess you'd watch their reaction. You're going to get a yes or a no, or a, I'm not sure. Like, it really, it's 50-50, right? So,
And sometimes it's 60-40 or 70-30. So
yes.
we need to do that dance with our partners and try to understand. And one thing that I really like to emphasize is that when you're weighing whether to stay or to leave, you need to look at the good in the person. Make an honest effort to find something good about this person that you can build a relationship on. And what you bring to the relationship that might be toxic. What is your contribution to this relationship not working? And give yourself the opportunity to try something different that might work and see what happens. Do you have any resistance to changing? Do you have any resistance to being kind to your partner? And pay attention, because you can do this testing little by little and see, and then you will have more clarity, and you can make a decision that makes sense, not something that is clouded.
Yeah, clouded, definitely, or made in under duress, like a lot of stress and
Fear.
fear. Yeah, absolutely. Patty's just saying yes, but why can't your partner just raise your vibration together and say good morning, beautiful, and hold you for more than 10 seconds and
Ask.
kiss more? Ask. Yeah. Especially when with men, they are not mind readers. Mm-mm.
No, it's very true. And you have this expectation that if you love me, you're going to be doing these things, or you should know what makes me happy. But you know what? Why don't you go and grab him and say, good morning, beautiful?
There you go.
And see how he responds. One thing that I really like to emphasize is that trying kindness with your partner, even and especially if your partner's being mean, is really illuminating, because that way you know if the person is in the right vibration, if this person has the capacity or the desire to transform the relationship and make it work. So I think kindness is really key. So if your partner is being mean or dismissive or ignoring you, start putting some kindness in the mix and see what happens. You might be surprised.
True. And that might surprise them. And then maybe they'll start evaluating, well, maybe I have been a bit of a, in the dumps or a little grouchy or whatever. And maybe that might spark something
Yes.
new.
Yeah, that's the beauty of kindness, because it makes you, it takes you aback. It makes you step back and then look from a different perspective.
Oh, she's just saying that she writes him love letters and put them into his lunchbox. Well, that's cute.
Sweet.
That's very sweet. That's great. I love that. Karath is just saying, take the roller coaster ride together, knowing the ups as joys and downs as united pillar of strength.
Beautiful.
Yeah, well, life is, everything is a roller coaster ride. One day you're at the top and you're like, woohoo, and coming down, and then you're at the bottom and you're like, oh man, or you're in the middle. That's just the way it goes, and the way we got to learn to go with the flow more, I guess.
Absolutely. Surrender and trust.
Yeah, surrender and trust. And guys, let me know if you have any questions for Sonia, maybe about the book or maybe about relationships. And this book is fantastic because she also talks about letting go. She talks about healing. She talks about collaborative divorce. She talks about, sorry, what's this? El Cheapo divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just so many, like even the spiritual side, nurturing your spirit, surrounding yourself with beauty. Are you getting enough sleep? Like she talks about the 360-degree health, which almost makes me feel like you're a bit of a doctor at the same time, because you're letting your clients know that this is part of the journey and you need to look at all aspects.
Right. It's not just going to court. It's not filing papers, settling a case, and then ending the marriage. There's so much more to it. It's an amazing opportunity to grow. And when we view divorce as an opportunity to grow, it's an opportunity for transformation, to start with a clean slate and start wiser. Whether you stay or you go, you're being given this gift to examine your life and start over. It's about fresh opportunities. It's about enlightenment. It's such a great opportunity. And when you reframe the way you look at it, it just completely changes everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a quote about when you look at things, things you look at change. Like it's really reframing and changing your perspective, and coming with, put your weapons down. Disarm, because when you've got them up, the other person's going to be doing the same thing, and guess what? You're at a standstill. Nothing gets healed, nothing gets accomplished, nothing. And I mean, I think you wrote in the book too about remembering who they were when you first met them.
Absolutely, because we tend to get dissolved, our self gets dissolved into a relationship. We get this sense that we have to become one at the expense of who we used to be and give up what we had before. Very often, especially women, we tend to care so much about others at the expense of being self-nourished. And when you do that, it's very depleting. Start looking at what is it that you did before you became a couple. What activities did you enjoy? What were your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, and what did you give up in order to be in the marriage? And when you feel that you have given up, it builds resentment. Mm-hmm. And it's very toxic to the relationship. So nourishing yourself, first while you're in the relationship, and see what happens. You become a more loving partner, parent, child, and you have so much more to give to others, and create something that is joyful for everyone. So I think that's a starting point. Whether you stay or you go, whether you're in a relationship or you're not, looking for what gives you a sense of purpose and joy is a starting point for happiness. And then as you examine your relationship, as you're considering ending it, start looking at who was I and who do I want to become, because you don't necessarily want to get stuck in what your dreams were when you were 20 years old. Look out there. What activities? What do you want to start a new career? Do you want to learn something new that is going to provide for your future or bring new people into your life, a new social network? So there is so much enrichment that can come out of this that it's worth the exploration.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, because sometimes we get intertwined into the relationship where we're almost like one person. We're not a couple anymore. It's just I don't even know what they call that, but and then you forget who you are.
I like to call them old shoes.
Old shoes. Yeah, and maybe it could happen. It happens because we have maybe a codependency or some type of addiction, right, whatever it happens to be. So I hear the song "Build Me Up, Buttercup." So mm-hmm. Build yourself up and do all the things you never imagined of doing or forgot about before the relationship. And I bet you there'll be some transformation. There'll be something, miracles will happen.
Yes. It's funny because it's an opportunity to start something new. One of the mediators in my network locally, she's a divorce mediator. And the reason why she became a mediator is because when she was getting divorced, the mediator was terrible. And she said, I can do a better job at this. So she decided, because of her divorce, to become a divorce mediator, and she's very good and very successful. So you never know what surprise is going to come in from this experience. Be open to it and receive it.
Yeah, that's great. That interesting you say mediator, because my dad and I were talking about my youngest, and I said, yeah, Connor, he's like a mediator. He goes, yeah, actually he is. He sees things from both sides, and he can maintain his presence and just facilitate. And I'm just like, yeah, because we were talking about his aspirations. So it's pretty interesting that mediator comes up again. So thank you for that.
There you go.
It's out in the universe. Is there anything else you wanted to share about your book?
I would like to share, I have a giveaway for your listeners and viewers. I would like to offer 5 copies to the first 5 listeners who solicit them.
Amazing. Yeah, she is giving away 5 ebook copies of her book, Relationship Solutions, guys. So yeah, so for the giveaway, just comment heart. Comment heart. And yeah, well, I don't know why I say we'll make the draw Tuesday, because it's an ebook here. Hold on, guys. I'm going to fix that. We'll get you the link for the download for the first 5 people. How about that? There we go.
Yes.
I got this figured out. It changes with each show. So, and I love how you also talk about creating your future from the inside out. That's almost one of the last couple chapters, and working with visioning and imagination and using visual aids. Did you want to speak about that a little bit?
Sure. Everything that we see on the outside starts from the inside, and we live under the illusion that everything that we have is an outside creation. But especially as we're coming out of a relationship that is over, we have the capacity to start creating. And it's the imagination, to me, is the workshop of reality. This is where you start planning what it is that you want to achieve, what you want to create, and then you will receive. And we're intuitors here in this podcast. We know that the answers to everything we want are within and will be received as long as we are open to them, as we're receptive and we listen to our intuition. So I think it's really important to do journaling as well, to take the time to discover what it is that we want to create, reconnect with the self, especially the self that we lost when we became part of a relationship, and start creating that blueprint of what we want to create. Tap into the power of our imagination and see the magic happen, because it's going to happen. And I can say from my personal experience, when I was going through my toxic marriage and it was ending, I never thought I could be happy again. I never thought I could love again or be loved again. And my life has changed so radically. And it was when I was willing to let go, surrender that dream that I had, that ideal of what my marriage is going to be like, and was able to peacefully release it, let it go, and absorb the lessons that came out of this experience. Then you have a foundation to create the future and the happiness you deserve. Because the fact that your relationship ended doesn't make you a failure, and does not mean you do not deserve to be happy again.
Absolutely. In fact, it's a chance to start fresh, start over, and really look at yourself and examine yourself and go, am I, as they say, looking for love in all the wrong places? Why do I keep attracting the same type of people into my life? Why am I always, I know a few people that say this, they're used or abused and then thrown away. And you actually invite that in, as much as you don't want to tell them that, but it's true. You kind of replicate and duplicate relationships.
Right. You will keep on repeating the same experience until you get the lesson. And you will continue to date and marry the same guy in a different body.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
do the homework. It's all about doing the homework. And I think where people go wrong is they recouple very quickly
Yes.
without really taking the time to understand what went wrong. Because, especially now that narcissistic abuse is such a fad and it's such a topic of conversation. Okay, so your husband's a narcissistic abuse, your wife is narcissistic. You ended up with this narcissistic person. Why? How did this person come into your life? What is it that I am doing that attracts a person and it creates those enables those narcissistic dynamics? So you need to ask those questions, or otherwise you will keep attracting the same kind of person over and over again.
Yeah, and I'm speaking from experience. That would be me.
Mm.
I know all about it, guys. So it's really, it hurts and it sucks, and you go through the victim consciousness, as they would say, and then you go through all these stages. It's like grief. And then you really fully step into your power and your sovereignty and your truth, and you start creating boundaries, and then you start watching. It's like watching a movie, watching people's reactions and who falls away and what comes in, and you really do manifest your reality.
And it's really important to be the observer. That's a fantastic starting point to understand what's going on, and then you can create something different because you can choose.
Yes. Yeah, you have the power of choice. We all do. All right. Looks like Patty is first one in to get that ebook. Super duper. We will get you a link for that. And Karath is just saying, I created a like-minded companion who knows the joys and strength pillar. We are a unique couple, united forever and never will walk alone. Oh, that's very sweet. I love that. I love that. Well,
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for joining us and for writing these books and for doing what you do. I mean, it's, you've got lots of praise. I love how each chapter you talk more about, like you do some reframing reflections after each chapter so people can dive in a little more with a journal or just to sit there and reflect on each chapter. So I do appreciate that. And it makes it digestible, like little bites here and there, right?
And what I really want to emphasize to readers is that when they ask me, so what are the relationship solutions? I don't know. You know. I give you the tools so you can bring them out because you have all the wisdom, you have all the answers that you need, and the power to create the happiness you deserve.
Very well said. Thank you so much for being here. So if you guys, there are 5, well, now there's 4 copies, ebook copies of Relationship Solutions written by the lovely Sonia Frontera. And I wanted to share just a few things before we close out. Tomorrow, I am hosting a new moon ritual readings and healings. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific. And there is also a full moon ritual readings and healings, June 24th. So you can go and register online for that. If you need the link, just comment new moon or full moon. As well, the Christ Consciousness Summit has already happened, but you can go back on Facebook and YouTube and watch the replays of your favorite guests and hosts. And I mean, whatever the healing or meditation was, it works. It's highly transformational. I highly recommend, we can all learn something as well. And then this Saturday is a special time because I'm going to be part of a podcast summit all day for most of the day. So it's actually Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific. So if you want to join our group, just comment soul. All right. Once again, thank you so much, Sonia, for your time and all of your beautiful sharing with us. I mean, you've been with us twice now, and I'm sure we'll work together again. And
I would love to.
Sending you so much love and enjoy your summer. It's right around the corner.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and blessings to you and to all the viewers and listeners.
All right, guys, take care. And please remember, healing begins where the ego ends.